Today, 26th June 2023, was scheduled to be the general elections of the Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall. But interestingly, residents of the hall woke up to very shocking news that one of the presidential candidates in the elections have been disqualified. And so the Dean of Student Affairs has stepped in to call for the cancellation of the whole electoral process and to call on the EC to restart the process and to make new residents or residents who are willing to take up the position contest or file nominations again. And so we are going right into the hall to speak to the president of the hall, and also we'll take some live reactions from some of the residents of the hall. And so stay tuned and enjoy. So now we are in the office of the president of the Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall, and so we are going to be talking to him, and he will give us the breakdown on what exactly is happening in his hall, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, so Mr. President, your hall is on fire. Let me put it that way. So we know that you were supposed to have elections today,
right, here
in Kwapong Hall, but for some reasons the election has been called off. As the president of the hall, what do you make of this whole situation?
All right. Thank you very much, and a very good evening to your viewers and then your listeners as well. So it is that time of the year again where student leaders need to be voted for to occupy leadership roles and leadership positions. And today was the day Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall was to go on to cast their votes. Running up to this election, it has been a peaceful atmosphere, although there were some changes here and there, but I mean, as a JCR president, I just had to ensure that everything is on course. If I say everything is on course, not to have any kind of influence with regards to the electoral processes, because the Electoral Commission is an independent body. Okay. So what I have to do is to ensure that whatever logistic they need to work with is made available to them, and that's what that was done. And so today was election day, 26th June 2023, and at 8 a.m. that is when the ballots or elections were supposed to begin. So from the electoral commissioners, I understand, because I'm the JCR president, I couldn't have been in the strong room to know what transpired. But then when such things were happening and I inquired from them, this is the feedback I got, that at 8 a.m. where the election was supposed to begin, they received, you see, normally before they give the go-ahead for the portal to be opened, the electoral commissioner together with the chief IT, the deputy CTO, is supposed to give a go-ahead before they open the link. And so from the electoral commissioners, they said a call came that they need to a letter. They didn't have communicated to them that one of the candidates do not qualify to run. Qualify in a sense that city campus students are not eligible to run for executive office in the hall. And so when that happened, it means automatically the presidential candidate will be left with just one set of just one set, that is Dennis and Asante and then Layo Achena. And so when that happened, the electoral commissioners called the office of the Dean of State to confirm, and they had the confirmation. And so at 10 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. the elections began at 10 a.m. Then 30 minutes after it began, another call came that the elections should be halted for the issues to be settled, for a clear communication to be made to all the candidates and then to the residents as to why it was halted and then was postponed. And so that happened. You know, there were some couple of noise back and forth around. Even building up before 8 a.m. there were a lot of people in the hall, trying to come and get their people to vote for their preferred candidates. And so when that happened, we were there, and then a notice came again, reaffirming the decision that city campus students cannot contest for executive office in any of the halls or even at the SRC level. And in that same letter, I would want to read out the letter. Pardon me, let me quickly open it and read out the instruction from the office of the Dean of Students. You have it? Okay. Yes, please. There's a notice. So it says, notice is hereby given that no Accra City campus or distance education student is eligible for executive office in any University of Ghana main campus hall of residence, including UJ halls. The JCR election at Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall has therefore been temporarily suspended. The Electoral Commission should reopen the electoral process for interested students to put in their nominations, a new date for the election will be conveyed to the hall by the Electoral Commission. And so this is a notification that came, and Kwapong Hall was cited in it that the election has been postponed, and also added an instruction that the Electoral Commissioners should reopen nominations. Ordinarily, per the Constitution, that's the right thing to do. Per the Constitution, when a set portfolio, someone is disqualified, or when there is just one person running, you reopen nominations again for individuals to file their nomination.
But in this case, it wasn't like that.
It wasn't like that. I mean, and then again, unfortunately, bad precedents had already been set. A bad precedent in the sense that when I was level 200, that is in the year 2021.
I think I remember that.
I was running for an office, and my presidential candidate was disqualified from the race, and that is a story for another day. Was disqualified, but instead of the Electoral Commissioners to reopen nominations, they still went ahead and then organized the election with just one candidate, a yes or no.
Yes.
Right.
So how do you feel about this one? I mean,
but this one, when the directive came from the office of the dean and the process restarted, I was okay. I mean, as the president of the JCR, what I want to ensure is that there is that peaceful atmosphere for residents of the hall, because their safety is also of utmost concern to the JCR.
Is your constitution silent on whether you should continue or you should restart the process?
So basically, what the constitution speaks on is when there is just one candidate for a portfolio, you reopen nominations again for a set time. Then if after that set time elapses and no one still files and it's just one person, then you go ahead to have yes or no. Right. But then it didn't state in a situation where a candidate is disqualified.
Okay, so I think what the Constitution says might not necessarily conflict with what the Dean of Students
yes, right.
is saying.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so what do you think, how do you think the affected candidates will take it?
Honestly, it wouldn't be easy. I'm sure it has not been easy for the candidate, because myself, as I mentioned, I've been in that situation before, and even when I was contesting for UGSRC president, of which we were all in that race together. You know, the election was postponed a couple of times.
Yes.
Imagine
so that thing we need to talk about it. I don't know.
We really need to have a conversation around it. We really need to have a conversation around it, because
tend to stretch students so much. You lose all your resources.
And for instance, today, every candidate will try and then make resources available for their people to work with. Ordering of food, getting water, drinks, purchasing all of these things, and then now election is cancelled. You can't go and put all the food in your fridge. You have to give them out.
So what do you think? Should we make provisions? Should we start to make provisions for this kind of situation, such that if at the 11th hour election gets cancelled, the EC should compensate aspirants, or actually give them something to...
well, if you have to have that conversation, then I think another conversation will also be, where is that cost going to come from? Where is that money going to come from? Is it going to come from the JCR funds, or at the SRC level, or management level?
So if the fault is from the EC, you should be paying penalty. Just like, you know, if a candidate you do something, they can fine you to pay.
That is true. That is true.
But it's ideally very bad. It's a bad thing.
I'm basically hoping that even if there will be a postponement to any election, there should be a clear communication some days before the election. You understand? So as to help.
So the residents, I think some residents were of the view that Dennis Asante, one of the presidential aspirant that is remaining now, is behind this whole, you know, petition, behind this whole cancellation process and all that. People think that he's the one who petitioned the dean or drew the attention of the dean to this fact that Micheal Kwapong is is a city campus student, and so that is the allegation out there. What do you have?
You see, outrightly, right? I don't have to pick a stance, but outrightly, I would say that is a false information, because already from the beginning of the conversation, I hinted how the communication came about from CITO, right? The candidate themselves were not even aware. They were informed when the process was ongoing, and so for that outrightly, I think it would be a misinformation that people should disregard. But that notwithstanding, it is only natural for people to think that once an opponent is being kicked out, maybe it is the cause of another opponent. I mean, we are into a race. We are going on a car racing, and once they said go, then your tires have been deflated. You definitely think that it's me, even if it's not me. You definitely suspect that it's me. So that feeling might be there, but then per the evidence is available. It is not Denis Asante who caused all of these things, but it's natural to think that way.
So I checked with the EC, and it says he has reopened the whole process again for nominations to be filed. How soon do you want to do this? How soon will you conduct the next elections?
Yes,
you are not the EC. I'm just hoping that you have some intel, you have some information on what is going to happen.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, I'm not the electoral commissioner, and the electoral commissioner is an independent body. What I need to ensure is that logistics are made available. And so I'll be having conversation with him as to how the next set of logistics will be made available to him. But per communications on the pages, I realized that he has open nominations for 24 hours, which is going to end at 2 p.m. tomorrow, God willing, for interested candidates to kind of file their nominations again. Yes.
So what?
I think it is after filing of the nomination that there will be a communication from UGC, because there's a system they are working with as to how they will change the system and kind of upload the new set of details.
If we have a situation where the people who picked nominations previously to contest, all of them pick the nominations again, and maybe we just have one new person, or even nobody comes at all, are you going to go through the vetting process and manifesto reading and all those processes again? Or you say, okay, so these people have already gone through vetting, they've done this and that, so we just carry on with them?
Right. I think that will be up to the Electoral Commission to decide. But I can only advise. Right. I can only advise. I can't impose anything on the Electoral Commission. And so I would advise that all the candidates who are already in the election, I mean, there wouldn't be any need for another set of debate or another set of vetting, because they have already gone through all the processes. Under normal circumstance, it's just the affected portfolio that nominations were supposed to be open for. You understand? But they've opened for all. Right. And so I believe, I'm just suggesting that the old candidates, or those who had already filed and gone through the process, their documents and everything is still available, right? And so what the electoral commissioners can possibly do is to recheck some of these things, maybe when it comes to filing of nominations and their document they use in filing nomination and CGP and all of that, they can recheck those things. But to request that they come for vetting again and all of that, I don't think it would be a step in the right direction. Moreover, we are racing against time, because we're given a time frame to organize the elections, and after Kwapong election, other elections follow, right? And so maybe it wouldn't, we don't want a situation where it will interfere with elections.
Right. Yeah, what's your message to the residents out there who are agitated by all that is happening? What do you have for them?
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for this important question. And so, dear residents, I understand that there was a bit of mayhem in the hall, and some of you felt like your security was at stake. But I can assure you that everything is under control. The election today could not come off as a result of one or two issues, which the electoral commissioners have clearly stated. And so, as the JCR president and as JCR executives, we would want to plead with you to keep on being calm as the electoral commissioners resolve the issue. And we also assure you that we will continue to deliver the promises we gave you, and we are hoping that you continue to work with us until we finally say goodbye. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So that was the president of the Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall reacting to current happenings in the hall with regards to the JCR elections, which was cancelled. You are one of the residents of the Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall. Today your elections have been cancelled. What is your reaction to that? How do you feel about that?
It's very appalling, because it was very unexpected. We expected that today, as of 6, 7, then we could see the results of the election, but preparing for the election and just last minute, a letter just comes out from the Dean of Students that it has been cancelled. That's very sad and unfortunate, especially for the aspirants who have invested their money and stuff.
not from an aspirant's perspective, but you as a resident, how do you think your candidates will feel about it, and what are you doing in your camp?
Oh, right now, we just don't even know what to do because I voted earlier around 10 a.m. So I was expecting by 6 we could see the results and we see our way forward.
Do you think your candidate is doing well, and do you think your candidate
of course, it's a ground race.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
So with me here is the Public Relations Officer of the Student Representative Council of the University of Ghana, UGSRC. And fortunately, he's also in the Alexander Adum Kwapong Hall, and so the cancellation of the elections have affected him. I want to take his reaction on how he feels about that. My brother,
thank you.
How does it feel to have elections cancelled on the election day?
Okay, thank you for having me. So personally, I first put myself in the shoes of aspirants or candidates who were expecting, if not for anything, it's past 4, so we should be getting close to the end of polls.
Yes.
And it's a whole lot of disappointment for such aspirants. I mean, especially those who are not in a portfolio which had the incident happen. You know, that way, when you think this short semester, you are trying to prepare for exam IEs in most. Meanwhile, you cannot do anything today. You prepared to have elections done today, and just to know that election has been cancelled, it's a whole lot of disappointment. To us as electorates, in my case here being an electorate, I was prepared to cast my vote rightly, but then unfortunately, it happens as such. So it's a bit of disappointment, but we still wish the right thing done.
Okay, so the Dean of Student Affairs has asked the EC through a letter to restart the whole electoral process, as in to open nominations and let people file to contest the positions again. Is that the right way to go? I mean, what do you think about that? For what I know personally is that when a candidate gets disqualified from an election, you let the process continue, but to call for the restart of the whole process again, what do you think about that? Well, how do you feel?
For me, I think that was a good decision the Dean of Students has taken, because in the first case, then we would say the whole electoral management or stakeholders of the elections has failed us, because if we have aspirants proceed to the end or to the morning to election, before we get to know one person has to be disqualified based on numerous reasons stated, then I feel the stakeholders of the election did not do a good job. So to make sure this electoral violence amidst student elections and all this stuff, I think that was the best decision, so that it doesn't look like.
Then, I mean, if we are agreeing that the electoral management body, that is the Electoral Commission of the whole, did not do a good work, and we have to restart the process, are we saying we are going to get new electoral commissioners to take the process, or we are using the same people and we are trusting that this time around they will do a better job?
I think they did not do a good job, not because they intentionally, but based on, I think, some sort of ambiguity of who qualifies to be a candidate. Okay. I think they were taking it from the angle that once you're a resident, then you deem right to, I mean, to be vote. It means once you deem right to vote, then it means you can be voted for as well. Okay. So that, I think that's the angle the EC took it from. So I think,
but the letter that came from the EC disqualifying the candidates in question, that is Micheal Kwapong Kissiedu, if I got it right. Do you think the reason stated is enough grounds to disqualify him?
Oh, okay, so I've not had time to read fully. Okay. All I saw was a glance of it that they has been disqualified. Later, after a few hours, I think few minutes, then I saw another notice that the entire election process has been cancelled. So having not read the full content of it, I think on any day they can still do a good job, because to my viewpoint before they are released, they made whatsoever in it, I think they were not doing the wrong thing ideally because they wanted to, but because of ambiguity, which it happens everywhere, but we don't encourage that happen anyways, but we are just entrusting them that they do a good job this time around.
As a public relations officer, how do you think the EC can position itself to get the trust of the candidates and even the residents going forward?
Oh, okay, so the EC has always been a transparent body, I mean, bent on working for the people, so I think for that confidence it's not been lost completely, because this whole issue goes beyond EC not doing his job right. Because all we know is most people have heard there is a release from Dean of Student, there is a release from management. I mean, so EC is even silent in terms of, or the public or the electorate are silent on ECs. So the blame is not completely on ECs as we speak.
But that brings me to this point. Some residents feel that, you know, one of the presidential candidates, mean, the opponent of the one disqualified is behind this whole, saga. So,
so speaking from the lens of being a resident, then I also heard that because I heard students saying, okay, so the key opponent, that is Dennis Asante, had to write a petition to Dean about the candidature to be withdrawn because of some unconstitutional acts in it, and he never got a response earlier, but later got a response at this dawn, and only brought that as a proof. That is what we heard out there, which I cannot tell for true whether that's the case. But based on that, then we will say that on any day when we are going for election, aside the works we do to ensure we win, everyone would want to do anything possible to check if his opponent is in a legal direction or not, because disqualification is a good thing to aspirants who want to win. Yes, in the end, I mean, earlier part of the election, it became yes or no, and I saw them jubilating all around, and to that lens, they deem it all right to jubilate because they all campaign and invested to win. And so if it happens that way, and
so
it goes on the side.
Let's say if after this whole process, the candidate in question is declared qualified to contest the election, how do you think that will influence voter turnout, and not just turnout, but the decision of the voters? Do you think some people will switch from, say, Dennis's camp to his camp? Do you think sympathy votes stuff will come into play?
So on any day, sympathy votes will work, the angle I am watching from. Because this morning I had some residents express displeasure that they were not going to vote at all if their candidate, that is
Dennis,
the opponent who was disqualified, Michael Kwapong, and the team are being disqualified, and they are not going to vote at all because they feel even if they did not qualify to be voted for, then that should have been done earlier, not at this time. So on any day, I foresee some sort of sympathy votes coming in there, but it may not be much. In the end, I mean, we are I mean, learned people still learn, so we would want to vote based on what track records and who we are having pair our predictive eyes can work for us.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're most welcome.
And so we thank you very much for staying with us up to this moment, and that is it. Thank you for watching.